for extensive world travel. Although his itinerary was indefinite, his general plan was to travel widely for a few months, then tour the US, visit London, and then return to India. He had sent disciples to Australia and Malaysia and wanted to visit him. He also wanted to go to Moscow and was awaiting a letter of permission from the Soviet government. As he had spread his movement in America, visiting major cities and preaching, stationing a few faithful disciples there to carry on. And now he expanded his field to include the whole world. Sydney, 1971. The Sydney devotees weren't ready for Prabhupada. An early telegram had informed them that he was coming. But a later telegram had said, Prabhupada not coming now. A third telegram had come, announcing that Bali Marden, the Australian GBC secretary, was coming. When the fourth telegram had stated only arriving and a date and a flight number, the devotees had presumed this referred to Bali Marden, not to Prabhupada. The devotees had taken a small garland and had gone to meet the plane, and when the doors to the customs area opened and Prabhupada himself walked out, they were flabbergasted. A white attaché case in his left hand, a cane in his right, a lightweight chadar around his shoulders, Srila Prabhupada entered the airport. Reporters on hand to interview Bali Marden came eagerly forward, one of them inquiring why Prabhupada had come to Australia. Replying softly, Prabhupada said he had travelled everywhere, just as a salesman travels everywhere. A salesman looks for customers wherever he can find them. And Prabhupada was travelling, searching for anyone intelligent enough to accept his message. Quote, there is no difference in coming to Australia, he said. The governments have made demarcation. This is Australia, but we see everywhere as the land of Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Gaura Bhakta. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, so we are continuing from the Majja chapter 19. The Lord instructs Srila Rupa Goswami, and we are reading texts 157, is that correct? And 158 onwards. And then we have a purple in 159. Okay. So we have what's up on the board? 158. Okay, so let's read that together. Kintu yadi latara shangi ote upashaka bhukti mukti vanchayata ashankya taraleka Kintu yadi latara shangi ote upashaka Bhukti mukti vanchayata ashankya taraleka Kintu yadi latara shangi ote upashaka Bhukti mukti vanchayata ashankya taraleka I'll do once more. Kintu yadi latara shangi ote upashaka Bhukti mukti vanchayata ashankya taraleka Kintu yadi latara shangi ote upashaka Bhukti mukti vancha yata ashankya talaleka. Someone else? Kintu yadi latara shangi ote upashaka Bhukti mukti vancha yata ashankya talaleka. Kintu yadi latara shangi ote upashaka Bhukti mukti vancha yata ashankya talaleka. Ladies, please. Kintu yadi latara shangi ote upashaka Bhukti mukti vancha yata ashankya talaleka. Kintu yati latara shangi ote upashaka Bhukti mukti vancha yata shankya talaleka. Okay, word to word and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Kintu but yadi if latara the creeper of devotional service Shange with Ote arise Upashaka unwanted creepers Bhukti for material enjoyment Mukti for liberation from the material world Vancha the desires Yata as many as there are Ashankya unlimited Tara of those unwanted creepers Leka the writing translation sometimes unwanted creepers such as the creepers of desires for material enjoyment and liberation from the material world grow along with the creeper of devotional service. The varieties of such unwanted creepers are unlimited. Okay, let's just read into text for 159. Nishadachari kutinati jiva himsan labha puja patishtadi yata upashakagan. Some unnecessary creepers growing with the bhakti creeper are the creepers of behavior unacceptable for those trying to attain perfection. Diplomatic behavior, animal killing, mundane profiteering, mundane adoration, and mundane importance. All these are unwanted creepers. Perhaps let's repeat the translation together, shall we? Some unnecessary creepers growing with the bhakti creeper are the creepers of behavior unacceptable for those trying to attain perfection. Diplomatic behavior, animal killing, mundane profiteering, mundane adoration, and mundane importance. All these are unwanted creepers. Purple, we have just over a page, purple. There is a certain pattern of behavior prescribed for those actually trying to become perfect. In our Krishna conscious movement, we advise our students not to eat meat, not to gamble, not to engage in illicit sex, and not to indulge in intoxication. People who indulge in these activities can never become perfect. Therefore, these regulative principles are for those interested in becoming perfect and going back to Godhead. Kutinati, or diplomatic behavior, cannot satisfy the Atma, the soul. It cannot even satisfy the body or the mind. The culprit mind is always suspicious. Therefore, our dealing should always be straightforward and approved by Vedic authorities. If we treat people diplomatically or duplicitously, our spiritual advancement is obstructed. Jiva Himsana refers to the killing of animals or to envy other living entities. The killing of poor animals is undoubtedly due to envy of those animals. The human form is meant for the understanding of Krishna consciousness, atato parama jignasa, for inquiring about the Supreme Brahman. In the human form, everyone has a chance to understand the Supreme Brahman. The so-called leaders of human society do not know the real aim of human life and are therefore busy with economic development. This is misleading. Every state and every society is busy trying to improve the quality of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. This human form of life is meant for more than these four animal principles. Eating, sleeping, and defending are the problems found in the animal kingdom, and the animals have solved their problems without difficulty. Why should human society be so lusty trying to solve these problems? The difficulty is that people are not educated to understand this simple philosophy. They think that advancement of civilization means increasing sense gratification. There are many religious propagandists who do not know how the ultimate problem of life can be solved. And they also try to educate people in the form of sense gratification. This is also Jiva Himsana. Real knowledge is not given, and religionists mislead the general populace. As far as material profits are concerned, one should know that whatever material profit one has must be abandoned at the time of death. Unfortunately, people do not know that there is life after death. Therefore, mundane people waste their time amassing material profit which has to be left behind at the time of death. Such profit has no eternal benefit. Similarly, adoration by mundane people is valueless because after death, one has to accept another body. Material adoration and title are decorations that cannot be carried over to the next body. In the next life, everything is forgotten. All these obstructions have been described in this verse as unwanted creepers. They simply present obstacles to the real creeper, the bhakti ladder. One should be very careful to avoid all these unwanted things. Sometimes these unwanted creepers look exactly like the bhakti ladder creeper. They appear to be of the same size and the same species when they are packed together with the bhakti lata creeper. But in spite of this, the creepers are called upashaka. A pure devotee can distinguish between the bhakti ladder creeper and a mundane creeper, and is very alert to distinguish them and keep them separate and purple. Om Ganatamarandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let's read that verse once more. Nisadachara kuti nati jiva himsan labha puja patishta yadi upashaka gan. Some unnecessary creepers grow along with the bhakti creeper. Some unnecessary creepers growing with the bhakti creeper are the creepers of behavior unacceptable for those trying to attain perfection, diplomatic behavior, animal killing, mundane profiteering, mundane adoration, and mundane importance. All these are unwanted creepers. Nama Om Vishnu Bhattaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Shmati Bhakti Vedanta Swamti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Kauravani Vachaline Nivasisha Sunyavadi Pashtatada Satarine Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So this is a very nice part of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Rupa Shiksha, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving some very important instructions to Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami, upon receiving these instructions from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, went on to write Bhakti Rasmrita Sindhu, which Srila Prabhupada gave a commentary, which is our nectar of devotion. Yeah? So principally what's being described here, well, first of all, the first thing that's described in these Rupa Shiksha and these teachings to Rupa Goswami is the great fortune of the jiva, the great rare fortune of the jiva to come in touch with the process of pure devotional service. Yeah, Guru Bhakti Lada Beach is very, very rare. Of all the millions and millions of souls in this world, unlimited, or not in this world, but in the universes, in the Brahmanda, one who comes in touch with the process of devotional service is very, very rare indeed. Yeah. Bahunam janmanan ante ganavan mampapatyate vasudeva samamiti sa mahatma sutulava. So it is described in Bhagavad Gita that after many births and deaths, someone who is actually a Gyani, someone who's actually wise, realizes or understands that this material world has nothing for me. That's a good conclusion to come to. It can have nothing for actually the soul. And Prabhupada alludes to this in the purport when he speaks about the anatta of materialistic society, in accumulating so many things and so many opportunities to actually do what? To gratify the body. Prabhupada translates it as sense gratification. Yeah, could say it's a big distraction from the ultimate purpose of life. Anato pashamam shakshat bhakti yoga matokshati. It's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam that actually describes that the process of devotional service is a process for becoming free of illusion, for being able to see into this material world and to have a sense of, you could say, a healthy sense of being pessimistic. You know what the word pessimistic means? What pessimistic means? You don't accept that you're a bit doubtful about the world, about the material world. And I'm sure to one degree or another, we have come to devotional service, so I'm sure we, hopefully, at some point, became pessimistic to the material world. Yeah, what it actually had to offer. I know for sure that was my case. I couldn't really map out a path of contentment and happiness for me. But I was young at the time, and I could see those who were my workmates working in the same place as me. They were like 20, 25 years older than me, and I was just starting, and they was all not, I could say, I couldn't conclude I didn't conclude that they were tasting abundant bliss and happiness. You know, a lot of them were alcoholics, etc., etc. You know, and I was just beginning, and I was trying to picture myself in the future, sitting in the same mess hut, drinking the same cup of tea, and having the same hang-ups and complaints about the world as they did. So I was getting a little bit pessimistic. Of course, unfortunately, even though the jiva may become a little bit confused, a little bit apathetic, a little bit fed up with the material world, payen episode sapya kalo asmin yugejana manda samanda matayo manda upagya upadrutaha. The verse describes in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, persons are unlucky, misguided, they're unlucky, misguided, always disturbed. What's the lazy, misguided, quarrelsome, unlucky, and always disturbed, and short-lived, very short-lived. So there's a good chance one is going to get misled. One is not going to get the Bhakti Ladha Bija. Yeah? And we see that there's so many different religious institutions, so many different religious movements, so many different spiritual movements, which are offering some type of emancipation, some type of freedom for people. But actually, they do not, we could say, they do not actually have the Bhakti Ladha Bija. Although having studied the process of pure devotion and what pure devotion looks like, and having studied it, we can recognize it. Like, for instance, since I was studying Srila Prabhupada's books, I can recognize aspects of pure devotion in the teachings of Jesus. Yeah? And even there is can we say, and even in the Quran, there's some you can recognize some aspects of selfless devotion towards the Supreme. Yeah. But other than that, most people are very much misled. They're actually approaching a religious person. That's why it's also described in the Ishopanishad that that's one of the worst things that someone could do, is someone's posing to be religious, but they're not giving them, you could say, the Bhakti Ladha Bija. They're actually giving them something else. You know? Like there's this movement, there's this pseudo-Christian movement, so to speak, some preaching. It's called the prosperity gospel. But the only idea of going to church is that if you come to church, you praise the Lord, you're going to be rich, you'll have anything you ever wanted. Just praise the Lord. And I was watching, out of interest, I was watching these prosperity preachers, and they present it like, you everyone now, don't hesitate. Just put your hand in your wallet, bring your credit card here, and make a donation. You will get everything. It's like called the prosperity gospel. So in one sense, it's very sad because people are, again, they're anatta. They're sad. They're disheartened by the material world. But they think the reason I'm sad and the reason I'm disheartened is because I don't have enough money. Because I wasn't, well, they don't understand principles of reincarnation, but if only I had that house on the hill. Yeah, well, I only got a house here on the hill. Yeah, Kurubavan. But and so they look, and also the material world, it's very good at enticing as one. The material world, in that sense, you could say it's a what's the name for when something is a presented as being a real thing, but it's not theory. It's a fake. What's another word for it? It's fake. No, Rashad. No. It's a conspiracy theory. You can say material world is a big conspiracy theory. Yeah. It's to allure you. It's to allure you that if you just get this product, if you actually buy this, if you get this phone, or you get this, or you get this job, you get that situation, or if you just get this, then that's it. You're going to be happy. Yeah. And the poor jiva, who's very small, and this in the beginning it describes 100,000 the size of a tip of a hair. And Rupa Goswami gives a definition, and he gives a dimension, also taken from Bhagavad Gita, of how small the jiva is. It's very small, so small. You can say, if the jiva is 100,000 the size of a tip of a hair, then you could fit everyone in the planet in the palm of your hand. So small. But the jiva, so small, although he's of a superior nature than matter, he becomes overwhelmed. The small jiva looks out to the material world and becomes overwhelmed and takes on all these The jiva is unhappy. The jiva has to be unhappy, separated from Krishna. Yeah. To think you're happy and you're separated from Krishna is called illusion. Yeah. And it's a very thick illusion to actually have a sense of, to pertain to a sense of well-being and happiness without actually Krishna, without a constitutional position. But the jiva looks towards them, it just looks, it doesn't. That's why it's so important for us to give an opportunity to people, is when they're going to meet the miseries of material existence, adibautic, adiatavic, and aditavic, the miseries pertaining from the own body, miseries pertaining from other people, miseries obtained from natural disturbances, is they have one of Prabhupada's books, on their shelf. Then if they happen to open a book, then they're greatly fortunate. At that time. But most people are very much, and the material world is aimed at anatta. It's a giving, it's laying undevotional bejas in the heart. Where you get this sense of having no knowledge, actually, no sambandha of the actual knowledge between the relationship between the jiva and the soul and the material world. One takes on these other materialistic bejas. And then one accepts as one's goal in life something temporary. Just like one of the, I don't know if here in Scotland, but in England, what they do to advertise the lottery, as persons, a lot of materialistic persons, they dream of winning the lottery. And you must admit, it must be tempting for a gross materialistic person who has no concept of the futility of material things, that you could write on a piece of paper one day, and next day you could have 40 million pounds. Oh, you see, yeah. And how they advertise it, they have this, this like finger pointing over this housing estate, just a common place, common like estate, and it's pointing this finger, and there's all stars on it. You could be the one. You could win. Yeah. Jai Shishikori Nitai Mahapurusha Shiki Jai. You could be the one. Yeah. In one sense, they could be the one, but very, very highly, highly, highly improbable and highly, highly unlikely. And even, and as we know, there's stories that are called Yobo Lotto, or Lotto winner Yobos. These persons who have they're trying to cheat the material world. They have no karma. They have no sophistication. They are the Sudras. And when they get lots of money, what do they do with it? Destroy themselves, destroy their family. That's why I think some places said that Sudras shouldn't be given money. They should just be given clothes and jewels and things like that. But anyway, it said upashaka. So the jiva is easily misled, misled on the wrong path, and it doesn't take much, to get misled. That's why, and here what's being pointed out here is even in Bahunam Janman Ante Ganavan Man Papatide Vasudeva Samatmit Samahat Masadulab, even after many births and deaths, when one actually comes in touch with pure devotion, with the process of pure devotional service, that Anyabarasata Sanyam, then it's not over at that point. There may be, and there is what's pointed out, there are many impediments that may arise. Even if we make it after millions and millions of births, you actually make it to the precincts of devotional practice. Unless we're careful, that's what's been mentioned here, unless we're careful and unless we're attentive, we may get misled. And probably we may get misled. We may, and one of the principal reasons, or if we go back in these verses, it describes that, Prabhupada describes the, why is it that someone may get misled from the path of pure devotional service? And One of the reasons is one gives up the association of devotees. Yeah. They've given up the association of those who are protecting you, those who are looking out for you. Yeah. Because devotional service also, it's very subtle. Our actual, because we want to desire, or we want to develop a pure desire. So that's like subtle. So, and we're coming with baggage, isn't it? We're coming with a lot of baggage. We come with piles and piles of baggage. I mean, one time a few years ago in an ashram, one young American man was coming, and he was a musician. He had like dreadlocks, and a musician, and he came up to the ashram, and he had 2 guitars. He had 3 bags on his back, and he had a girlfriend behind him. He's coming up to join the ashram. But at least he was honest. He said, "Man, I know I got a lot of baggage here, man, but can you let me stay for a few nights, man?" And he was saying, "Yeah, you got a lot of baggage. You have to give somebody, throw these bags off the side." And in one sense, it's an interesting example because what happens when a boat is sinking? Like, of course, you contemplate these things. Like, we was on a ferry and we was coming over in a car, and of course, you always think when you're on a plane, what if the plane crashes? It's just a natural thought, isn't it? Well, we're in Krishna's hands, but what would happen if the boat sank? Okay, you have to leave everything behind. Would we do it? Or would we risk life by trying to rescue our laptop computer? Or whatever? Would we just go, my life is in danger, so nothing I need here. No bag, nothing, absolutely nothing. No credit card, nothing. I need to take, So, but unfortunately, we kind of bring baggage. But the process of devotee association is very powerful. Very, very powerful. The process of kirtan, Shravanam Kirtan, which is the main method of watering this bhakti ladder beach. And Prabhupada in the purple, he mentions the details of what actually is the bhakti ladder bija. Yeah? What does it actually mean? It means ones who follows the method, rules, and regulations given by the spiritual master that actually constitutes the bhakti ladder bija. Yeah? So the process itself is very powerful, that even if we come with lots of baggage, which we do, but if we associate with devotees, if we associate with those who have accepted the path of pure devotion, yeah, Anyabalasana Sunyam, yeah, then it could say it doesn't matter so much, yeah, because it's going to go, yeah. If we are in the kirtan of the Lord, if we regularly attend the kirtan of the Lord, we are regularly attending the Srimad Bhagavatam classes, we're regularly maintaining association with devotees, yeah, then that baggage will go. And sometimes the devotees will help us get rid of the baggage as well. So that's one sense we have to put our trust in the Vaishnavas. And sometimes we have to put quite a lot of deep trust in the Vaishnavas. But the Vaishnavas may even tell us, the way you're thinking is wrong. What do you mean the way I'm thinking is wrong? That's the way I think. No, it's wrong. So you have to take on different mindsets. Because of the way, sometimes the way we're going about our devotional service may be wrong. Yeah. And even so, then Prabhupada he emphasizes he emphasizes the association of devotees. Yeah. Whereas someone who, for instance, there's example in Srimad Bhagavatam of someone who was very, very advanced, but he didn't have the association of devotees. So he took birth, instead of taking birth on Goloka Vrindavan or in Vaikuntha, he took birth as an animal. So anyone know who that is? They can say. Bharat Maharaj, yeah. And sometimes it's highlighted that his deviation, it started very, very subtle. Actually, he was absorbed in his sadhana, absorbed in his meditation. He was meditating upon, as far as I know, Surya Narayan, the Supreme Lord manifest as the Surya, yeah, Lord Narayan. And he would meditate. In the morning, he would meditate, and he was at a very high level of devotion, which is bhava, and tears of ecstasy and adoration for Krishna would come to his eyes. Yeah. But as we won't tell the whole complete story, but a short version of the story is a little foal deer lost its mother and was completely helpless. Little deer, completely helpless. So, because of his purity of heart, because of his, just like Arjuna, one of the symptoms of his purity of heart was that he had compassion. And he didn't want to fight for compassionate reasons. But that wasn't the place for being compassionate on the battlefield. It's the wrong place. Yeah. So this Maharaj Bharat, his name, he had actually, he felt compassion. So in one sense, it's a to have compassion for someone who's helpless. Yeah. This young foal was completely helpless. So to have compassion for someone completely helpless is a good thing. But you see the subtlety of it. It was very subtle. And it eventually led to his downfall. From his affection, instead of going towards the Lord, his affection went for this deer. His affection the affection was there, but he didn't. But he used that affection for the deer. Okay, someone might say, yeah, but that's good, isn't it? No, not if it causes him to deviate from his devotional practice. Yeah, let the universe take the care of the deer. Don't worry, the universe is going to go on. Universe, the deer will go through its natural life in its own way. Why do you think you're the supreme controller? Yeah, don't worry, just let it go. Yeah. So, but he couldn't recognize it. He couldn't recognize it until it was too late. It's actually too late, and he tripped over and he fell. And actually, some of the descriptions, it's quite. I don't know if the word "quite sweet" is a good word to use, but he was doing his meditation, and then this deer would come and rub his nose against his nose, and lick his face, So so he identified that feeling with actually feelings of devotion, but there wasn't. But if there was devotees there, you could say, they might have told him, "Hey man, you're in Maya. You haven't been a Mongolite for 2 years because you've been looking after this pet. What's going on?" Point it out. Yeah. So, and Prabhupada himself, you could actually get a sense that in these purports, Prabhupada is, we humbly might say that Prabhupada is referring to observations amongst his god brothers. Yeah, where he's seen deviations amongst his god brothers. Yeah. Also, he mentions those who proclaim to be Nityananda Vamsa, or those who claim to have a birthright to devotional activities. Yeah. And those who don't accept Vaishnavas born outside of their clan. Yeah. And if you read the history, there's a little bit is described in the Lilamrita. But with all due respect, some of Prabhupada's godbrothers did, we could say, deviate. Yeah? Deviate. So Prabhupada seemed to be alluring to this, in some ways. Yeah. And he brings up here different things that are brought up, so we should be on the lookout. In one sense, we have to become like policemen. We have to be on the lookout. Yeah. On the lookout for very subtle things that for instance, pride. Yeah. It's always there for the sadhaka, always waiting. and tap you on the shoulder. Hey, 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 hey! Look how great you are! Look, wonderful! This, yeah, this, and that, and this. You know. And if one should be on the lookout. That's why we have to we have to practice being humble. We have to practice. That's why when we come into the temple, we hit the floor and we bow down. You know, first we bow down. You know, and we pay obeisances. Yeah, so we have to develop really deep humility. You know. Because if again we could say that even in our international site for Krishna consciousness, we see examples sometimes of devotees who have gone away from the association of devotees or neglected the association of devotees. Yeah, or sometimes it can be that one doesn't want, and one it can be quite subtle where someone decides not to put faith in the instructions and directions of the Vaishnavas. So anything that the Vaishnavas may say at that point, one doesn't accept it. No, I'm not accepting it because subtly you're like this, you're like that, you know. And then gradually one becomes on one's own, and one loses the association with devotee. That's a great, and that could be due to that could be due to offenses to Vaishnavas, where those very persons who made you feel comfortable when you came to devotion, those persons who gave you a place, those persons who tolerated so much your bent mentality, that those very persons you turn against, and you think that they are your enemy. You know, sometimes it even happens that I won't mention his name, but one spiritual master. And I felt a bit embarrassed, but not embarrassed, but he was mentioning one devotee who I know who's took initiation from him, and he was asking, he was speaking to me about this devotee who I knew because he joined their temple and eventually took initiation from this spiritual master. And this disciple had turned against his spiritual master and wrote letters, very unpleasant letters, describing you're like this, you're like that, you're like this, you're like this, you know. So it's just become covered, you know. That's how far one can. Yeah. So anyway, we always have to surround ourselves with pure-hearted Vaishnavas, those that are on the path of pure devotion. You know, keep safe, you know, because there's impediments on the path. But again, if we stay in association, good association, then we can make progress. You know. I'll stop at this point. Any questions or comments? Yes, please. Hare Krishna.
Swami is recommending 3 different levels of respect. So we respect some people mentally, some we pay dandavats, and some we open our hearts to. So if you're in a community of devotees and some of them have turned away and they're not showing proper appreciation, you know, to the people that have helped them or their spiritual masters, then how do we maintain that respect and at the same time that distance?
Well, it's just exactly as you said. It's just that we actually do maintain that respect, but we have to do it from a distance. Yeah, like there's one senior devotee. He's since passed away, and he was my bhakta leader when I first joined. And somewhere down along the line, he kind of went off the path of pure devotion, you know. And his practice was then to come to the temple, to sit at reception, and tell the young devotees how bad ISKCON was. Jayaditya was the temple president at the time. He's pulling his hair, trying to tell this. No, sorry, you can't sit there. Well, why can't I sit here? Because you don't. Yeah, and we had this note actually on reception. It's funny. I don't know if it's funny, but we had to put this note on reception. If you've got nothing to do, please don't do it here. So, because he was my bhakta leader, he's a Prabhupada disciple actually. But he's since passed away. He's my back. I would give him respect. But it'd be Haribol. Haribol, Prabhu. Yeah, you have to be intelligent. You can't just, one time I made a mistake of I was on book distribution. And the one thing, and I kind of stopped him, and he was there, and he stopped. And the first thing he said, Prabhupada's books have got no potency left in them anymore. They've been edited or something. So, Haribol, Prabhu. So you get the idea. We have to be a little bit. We shouldn't be cold. We shouldn't be impersonal. We shouldn't be rude, and we shouldn't be offensive. We just have to choose who we're going to sit down and discuss Krishna Katha to. Other persons are Hare Krishna, like that. Yeah. Is there any other questions on that? But yeah. Yes, please. Yes. Yeah.
Are they compatible is something reflecting in my mind, because pride comes as a result of popularity, which leads to influence, and humility is just exactly the opposite. Are they compatible?
Not for
Are they
spiritual
practical?
life. No, not for spiritual life. It's not compatible.
Yeah.
Pride is not. We can be proud
Yeah.
in the sense that we are devoted. We are like Prabhupada was proud of being a member of the dislibeate succession. We can, feel good about that, but pride doesn't. Pride doesn't go with spiritual life. It doesn't mix very well. We have to root it out. Okay. One more question, perhaps. Yes, please. Vishwambhara. Did I get the name right?
The verse before talks about desire for mukti, I think, liberation.
Desire for?
Liberation, mukti.
Oh yeah, liberation. Yeah.
Is that the same as wanting to go to Krishna's abode? And Srila Prabhupada talks a lot about going back home, back to Godhead, and I've also heard, like, in the state of pure devotional service, the pure devotee doesn't desire even to go to Krishna's abode, only for the service. So is that something that we should desire?
Yeah, and in one sense, the actual quest to obtain Krishna is a natural proclivity of every soul. To obtain shelter of Krishna is actually natural, and that shouldn't be denied. That shouldn't be denied at any moment. Yeah, but we don't. For instance, we don't want to. Desire for liberation means you're just concerned about being free from the sufferings of this world. Your overall desire has to be to serve Krishna and to please Krishna. But if the desire is, let me get, in one sense we need it in the beginning, but the desire just, in other words, could be, let me go to Krishna Loka because it's nice weather there. It's nice weather and there's no suffering. No, you have to go to Krishna Loka because you love Krishna and you want to serve him. So we have to look out for that. It can be a subtle weed that we, because in the beginning we actually come to devotion for like shelter. So we desire liberation from our anxiety, but actually the desire has to transform into wanting to please Krishna. Even if Krishna puts us into a suffering situation, we will accept that. So we're not just desiring moksha, we're desiring Krishna. Yeah, it's a bit subtle. We have to look at. Okay, we'll stop there. Ganthara, yes, Nrsimhavacharya, please.
You were talking at the beginning about your experience when you started working, and you're comparing your situation and their situation.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Prabhupada was talking about a certain group of people, and he said it's like old crow, new crow. Like the old crows that they've eaten this, they become a little bit sort of jaded with it, and the new crow comes and he thinks he's going to get there and enjoy it. And
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
Yeah, fortunately at that time I read one of Prabhupada's books, so I got the right idea, the direction to go in. Okay. Kanthara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Bo, Hare Krishna.
His Grace Murli Manohara Prabhu ki jai.